Welcome back to White Mountains Today. I am joined in studio from the Mount Washington Observatory. It's Will Brousard. Thanks for joining us. What's your title? Let me guess. I'm going to guess your title. It's Supreme Naturalist, Science Instructor Person.
Oh, that's really close, actually. I'm the outreach coordinator for the observatory.
That's pretty close.
I'm kind of one of the public faces for the organization.
And as the public face, you need to know everything about life on Mount Washington and the observatory. So we're glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to talk about a few things. First off, we mentioned it with Mike Carmen in our live report just a second ago, but it's Seek the Peak, and it's coming up in just a few weeks, really.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little over a month now, July 17th and 18th. So this is the largest fundraiser for the organization, the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory. Essentially, on Friday night, we have a big kickoff party, and then Saturday, folks who would like to hike Mount Washington can do so. And then at the end of the day, we have a really big party, bunch of food down at Great Glen Trails at the base of Mount Washington.
That's fantastic. And I know the Mount Washington Observatory knows how to throw a party. So for someone looking to hike, is it a guided hike? Do they do it on their own? Do you provide trail recommendations?
Yeah, sure. So this year's theme is called Seek Your Peak. So we understand that Mount Washington can be a daunting kind of mountain to climb. So folks are encouraged to climb other mountains, maybe just climb a little bit of Mount Washington. And this year, actually, I'll be offering some nature hikes. Really? So some little slower paced natural history hikes around Great Glen, and that's going to be pretty exciting.
And Will is a big birder, so you never know, he might hear something and say, we were actually just talking about the Bicknell's thrush, which is, I think, one of the few places left where they breed or something?
Yeah, it's an endangered bird that lives basically only here in the White Mountains and a couple other kind of alpine forests around New England.
And what do they sound like?
I would describe them as a tape being played backwards. They have a pretty unique
Give it a try.
song.
What does that sound like?
That's my best rendition.
Will Brousard's impersonation of a Bicknell's thrush.
Yeah,
so you'll be doing that
really
on the trail for Seek the Peak.
Yeah, we'll try to call some out.
But he can point out lots of great things. We mentioned you had the porcupine rescue on the summit. There probably won't be any porcupine rescues during Seek the Peak, but you never know.
You never know.
Even porcupines like to seek their own peak. So Seek the Peak is coming up. If people want to register in advance for that or get more information, how do they do?
Sure, they can all go to mountwashington.org.
All right, and again, proceeds benefit the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory. Many people still don't realize it's a nonprofit.
That's a big question we actually get, Chris, is whether or not we're part of the government, United States government, the National Weather Service, but we're not. We get a very small amount of support from the United States government. Much of our income comes from our supporting membership. We have lots of grants and some corporate sponsors, including Eastern Mountain Sports and Vask Shoe.
Yep. And of course, their mission, though, is very important because you guys, I know the mountain is situated, in the apex of 3 different jet streams, and the amount of research that you guys do and contribute to the overall weather picture of the world is very significant.
Yeah, it's actually a really unique kind of backyard Arctic laboratory for any folks who are interested in doing different kinds of product testing or materials testing. It's been that way for basically the entire history of the observatory, back to the 1930s and 40s. All
right, so sign up for Seek the Peak now. If you're looking for something to do in the over the course of the summer or even in the next couple of weekends or so, you guys have introduced summer day trips. Tell me about those. Yeah, so summer day trips, they're kind of our summer answer to the winter day trips, which we offer in the wintertime. The summer day trips will be half day. You go up with an auto road coach, so you get the auto road experience of the mountain and ascending the mountain. And then with us, you get a tour of the Extreme Mount Washington Museum, which is our brand new summit museum, which gives our summer visitors a wintertime experience. Then you have lunch with us and a back kind of behind the scenes tour of the observatory. Nice. And then you come down and it's basically the morning. It's roughly from 9 a.m. to about noon, 1 p.m. All right, and of course, we just talked to Mike Carmen live on the summit. He said the number one question they get from people on the tour is, Where's the cat?
Yeah, the cat, Marty Cat. He is the only permanent staff member of the Mount Washington Observatory.
But he is there. I thought maybe that he was actually photoshopped into all your pictures and he didn't really exist.
No, it's actually pretty amazing. I haven't seen him outside too much, but I've heard that he will even take walks down to Lakes of the Clouds.
Really? That far?
Yeah.
It's a good thing he didn't get tangled up with that porcupine.
No, that would have been bad.
Would have made for an interesting postcard. And you mentioned the Extreme Museum. Now that's open to anybody who can get up to the Mount Washington Auto Road or to the summit by any means.
Correct. Yep. It's basically paid for by taking the COG or the rail, well, the COG railway or the auto road up.
Right. And even if hikers want to do it, they can.
Yep. There's a charge for hikers, and they can check that out on our website, and they can find out when they get up to the summit as well.
Right. How cool is that? You hike up a mountain and then you take in a museum experience.
Yeah. Pretty unique.
Where else can you do that except Mount Washington? And this is just a couple of years old. It's called Extreme Mount Washington. And it
Correct.
really focuses on the extremeness of Mount Washington.
Yeah, a lot of folks who come up the auto road and COG and even hike in the summertime don't fully appreciate why this mountain is labeled as, the worst weather in the world or one of the deadliest mountains in the world. When you hike into the Alpine Zone, there are those Forest Service signs that say turn back if the weather is bad. And a lot of people don't fully appreciate how ferocious this mountain can be until they experience it in the winter. So this is our attempt to kind of give some of that wintertime experience to the summertime visitors. You get to see how rime ice forms. You get to hear some personal stories of rescues on the summit. You get to pilot a snow tractor, which is our primary means of transportation to the summit in the winter.
That is cool. Now, you're not actually piloting a real snow tractor, but it's like a virtual...
It's a virtual snow tractor, correct.
But it's so cool. It's like, the biggest arcade game you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get points for staying on the road and?
No, it's kind of on a tracked program. It won't let you crash. A lot of the kids try to crash it, but.
Right, and part of this exhibit is some amazing footage shot by a Boston area cinematographer. Tom Gilmet is his name, and I have just been astounded by the things that he's collected. He spent a month on the summit a couple of years ago and got some of the most impressive footage ever shot up there, including time-lapse footage of rime ice forming.
Yeah, that was exactly one of the first times we've ever gotten that on film. That was pretty incredible.
So it puts you right in the middle of extreme on Mount Washington. Let's see, Will, have we missed anything?
Well, we can talk about the Weather Discovery Center here in North Conway Village. For a long time it was free, but changes in budget, we've got to support ourselves, so we've actually increased the price to $2 per person for admission for adults and $1 for children.
So $2 is still a pretty good deal for entrance into a science museum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So of course it's one of those things, you check it out and it's again the public face of the organization, learn all about the history of the observatory, history of why we're called the home of the world's worst weather. Twice a day, of course, we have these live video connections to the summit of Mount Washington, so you can talk to a weather observer from there as well. And
it's great for all ages because it's hands-on. My 4-year-old daughter, every time we drive by, Dad, when are we going to go to the weather museum again?
Yeah.
And I say, soon. But it's great if you're spending some time just walking North Conway Village. You can stop in for an hour, 2 hours, see everything, and really enjoy yourself. And it's super cheap.
Yeah.
Rainy days, great activity.
Yeah, really fills up on rainy days.
All right. Will?
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Chris.
If people want more information, mountwashington.org.
Yep, that's MOUNT Washington.org.
Or just Google Will Brousard. You never know what's going to come up. Bicknell Thrush impersonation. Go ahead, do it.
Blah.
And we'll be right back with more Mountains Today.